In the small, quaint town of Folkston, Georgia, you'll be greeted with the friendliest smile from the friendliest of people. This town, however, hoards its secrets deep, as any other small town would. Here in southeast Georgia, Audrey Rose Mcintosh found herself in a life-or-death situation, fostered by the remoteness of her location, that still sends shivers down everyone's spines. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. It was a hot, late summer day back in 2001. Some might say it was a perfect time to explore the beauty of Georgia. In the mornings, it wasn't too hot or cold, and people were still enjoying the weather, while looking forward to the chilly air of the evenings. In a small house in Folkston, Georgia, a young 18-year-old Audrey Rose Mcintosh was lazily spending the official last day of summer, August 31st, which coincidentally fell on a Friday, setting the start of a most awaited weekend. Audrey couldn't wait for some time off to enjoy the last days of summer and the warm weather in the comfort of her own home. On that late summer day back in 2001, Audrey thought she would enjoy some time off, probably watching TV or listening to some music, as any other 18-year-old would do. The day started wonderfully in the Mcintosh household. The remote location of her home offered many advantages to Audrey. She could enjoy the surrounding nature anytime she wanted, sunbathe in her backyard, listen to her favorite songs however loud she wished, and so on. However, she knew her responsibilities couldn't wait much longer for her to stop her laziness streak. Later in the day, as the sun was still burning hot, Audrey decided to open the windows and doors in order to maybe cool down the house a bit. Nothing out of the ordinary. She used to do this almost every day, like some sort of routine driven by the hot summer days she had just endured. Pushed by her diligent and independent nature, the young woman took on the responsibility of doing laundry, a task some hate, but she definitely loved. From sorting the clothes, to choosing the correct laundry detergent and fabric softener, to drying the clothes and then folding them carefully, almost without any wrinkles, Audrey felt she was in heaven. It might sound weird for someone who doesn't enjoy such mundane activities, but this routine kept Audrey in check and gave her a sense of security and maturity that nothing else had so far. After all, she barely graduated high school and turned 18, so this was her making her first steps into adulthood. As she sorted through the piles of clothes that awaited her in the laundry room, her mind wandered, lost in the rhythmic hum of the washing machine she found so comforting. Little did she know that her domestic routine would soon be disturbed by a danger she hadn't thought of that day or ever before. As Audrey reached for the laundry basket that held some more unsorted clothes, her hand briefly and lightly touched the cold metal of a vent situated near her ankles. In a matter of seconds, something grazed her leg. Scared, she jumped, taking a few steps back and letting out a high-pitched scream. Setting her eyes on the ground, she saw it, a venomous serpent looking at her with threatening eyes. Frozen, scared, and on the verge of crying, Audrey was unsure of what to do. Her instincts told her to run, but she was cornered. Before being able to make an escape plan, the snake lunged at her, biting her exposed leg, then took off down the vent where it came from. Amazed at what had happened to her, Audrey's mind was filling with questions. What kind of snake was that? Was it venomous? Who should I call? How should I call? I don't have a phone here. I don't want to die. Her heart was racing. The snake that slithered its way into her home, her safe haven, was probably drawn by the cool shelter the house could have provided for it, so he stayed quietly in the vent until Audrey bothered it. Still, she couldn't believe her eyes. The site where the snake bit her hurt like crazy, pulsating so fast that she couldn't bear the pain. The 18-year-old knew she had to act fast, whether or not this was a venomous snake or not. She could no longer rely on chances, but on facts. So the only thing she thought to do amidst her despair was to run to her nearest neighbor. Now you're probably thinking, great, she must have been surrounded by neighbors, just as in any other American town. The unfortunate truth is that Audrey's home was situated in a much too remote location. So remote that in fact her closest neighbor was half a mile away. This didn't let her down. She was determined to make it through. and summoning the last bit of energy she had in her body, the 18-year-old started her long journey. Normally, a half-mile walk takes about 15 to 20 minutes, but to Audrey, it felt like an eternity. Every step she took, she could feel the venom coursing through her veins. Her legs tightened more and more with every minute that passed, while tears were grazing her rosy cheeks. In the sweltering heat of the afternoon, without any water that could quench her thirst, this half-mile walk felt like a marathon. It was a race against time, a race that would ensure her livelihood, so Audrey refused to yield. She was known for her determined and stubborn nature, and nothing could stop her now. Her breath became more and more abrupt. Her heart raced so fast she was feeling it in her throat. Her pulse was pounding in her ears like a macabre drumbeat, leading her to death. Still, after what felt like days of walking, she reached the sanctuary of her neighbor's house. She made the last few steps toward the door, her body trembling from exhaustion, and her voice choked as she asked for help. Her neighbor rushed to her side, only to learn the awful truth. Audrey was bitten by an unknown snake. She realized in that moment that not even a second could be wasted, so she lunged to the phone and dialed 911. Emergency responders arrived hastily, blasting the sirens of salvation. It was only then, when Audrey heard her heroes coming to save her, that she finally gave in and rested her eyes. The 18-year-old Audrey Mcintosh was rushed to Shands Hospital in Jacksonville, Georgia, in a helicopter. The sound of the propellers reminded her of the hum of the washing machine she was supposed to be loading with clothes right at that moment. Immediately after arriving at the hospital, she was quickly examined by the doctors, who were determined to save her. They administered antivenom, kept her vitals in check, and fought alongside her for her life. Unfortunately, too much time had passed between the snake bite and her receiving antivenom, which resulted in slim chances of survival. It didn't help that she strained her body during the walk to her nearest neighbor to call 911, nor did the hot summer day. After a heroic fight, Audrey finally gave in and succumbed to an early and undeserving death. Her mother, Glenda Davis, was left in pieces as she lost her dear child. The entire community of tight-knit Folkston was devastated at the loss of such a young soul. Audrey Mcintosh, an 18-year-old with dreams as vast as the Georgia sky, was called too soon to heaven. After further investigation by the doctors who treated her, it was thought that the snake that killed her was a highly venomous pit viper whose venom was so strong that she didn't stand a chance. The tragedy still shocks her community, which continues to remember Audrey nearly 23 years after her death.